I'm honoured to be a part of this podcast. What a great time I have listening to it every week.
I mean, we're honored that we have a listener every week. Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead singer for Lipstick Generation.
And I'm Steve. I'm the bassist of Lipstick Generation, and my mouth is full of apple.
And
I probably should have timed this better.
And
The
welcome,
apple's really tasty, you guys.
and welcome to the Lipstick Panel. Today on the Lipstick Panel, we are making an unofficial Kiss album canon. We are officially making Fake Psycho Circus a canon album in the Kiss catalog as dictated by the Lipstick Panel. And if you're wondering what Fake Psycho Circus is, it's a bunch of songs that we decided was a lost Kiss album from the reunion era lineup.
Did Joe master this one too?
Joe did not master this. He stopped mastering at Crazy Nights.
Dang.
But hey, Crazy Nights sounded great. So there you go. Good job, Joe Palmazzo. But yeah, for those who don't know, around the time of the Psycho Circus recordings, it was just chaotic, and the band recorded a whole bunch of songs, and most of the songs didn't make the album. There are a bunch of leftover tracks, and then they got leaked to the internet, and we're like, oh shoot, there's enough here for a full Kiss album, except there was only really 8 of those songs. And we're like, you know what? Nothing Can Keep Me From You is like a year later, close enough, tag it on there. You can't have a Kiss album with only one Paul Stanley song. Boom, we've got a full album of Kiss songs. So if you can't get enough Kiss, we decided this album exists and is a thing.
Were these songs also leaked by a disgruntled Eric?
Quite possibly. Maybe Eric Singer was like when he was, releasing Carnival of Souls, decided, you know what, I'm gonna leak all these shitty songs from this album I had nothing to do with. So for those fans at home
We
who
tried
are
to
wondering,
protect his identity last time we talked about leaking songs.
I mean, whatever, everyone knows it at this point.
I mean, I just said Eric because I assumed they had any given 2 Erics at any given time who might be leaking songs.
No, you know what? He's on the farewell tour with them. He's probably okay. He's made his money, and they're probably not going to kick him out at this point.
They're going to listen to our podcast and be like, it was him?
It was
Damn
him.
it!
Damn it! We're going to fire you and replace you with Peter Criss. But yes, so the songs on Fake Psycho Circus. I mean, we've got so many songs. We've got In Your Face, we've got Body and Soul, Sweet and Dirty Love, I Want to Rule the World, Nothing Can Keep Me From You, It's My Life. You know what, whatever, you're going to just listen to the ranking, you'll find out what all the songs are. Then you look them up on YouTube, you listen to them, you have a great time. We've got some great guests with us today. We've got Julian Gill, return to the program, the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome back, Julian.
Well, you already started off with a lie by calling me a great guest. I apologize.
You're right, not a great guest, the greatest guest.
Ooh.
Oh, I'll be in Nashville soon. We'll have a private conversation about that.
Yeah, I'll just, meet me in my office. Got a stiff proposition for you.
Look, suplexing Greg won't demote your status as greatest guest.
I was going to bring him another copy of Speedball Jam to listen to and force him through that.
That might, though.
I mean,
yes.
look, I'm fine listening to Speedball Jam. It's just I feel bad subjecting others to it. So, like, I felt bad as a friend forcing Steve to listen to it. The man who stood by my side at my wedding, my bassist, my bandmate, my brother, I forced him to listen to Speedball Jam, and that just...
It's okay, Greg. Being forced to listen to Speedball Jam, I also felt bad.
No. Did you guys realize that the album was actually backwards? So now you need to go listen to it again properly.
We have another episode. Good news, Kiss fans.
What secret messages did Vinnie Vincent backmask into Speedball Jam?
The release date for the box set.
Ooh.
Going the complete opposite direction, we have our shittiest guest returning to the program, Mr. Mike Walsh. Crazy Mike, welcome back. Mike Walsh.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Okay. Sure, let's do that.
No, I'm kidding. Mike is a fantastic guest. We love him. Love having him on. And really, he made his podcasting debut on our show. So really, we're just bringing Mike Walsh to the masses. We're recognizing talent at a young age and bringing him up. It's like when, Prince was recognizing Apollonia and Morris Day and bringing them to the forefront. So really, Lipstick Generation, we're like the Prince of podcasting, and that we hate the internet because the internet annoys us.
So I'm the Apollonia to Greg Troyan's Prince?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that works. Not really, but sure, yeah, that's awesome. I don't know who gets the better deal on that.
I feel a little bit bad about the monarchist tendencies of this, though. Dang it, Greg, I'm an American now. We believe in freedom.
Oh, whatever. We all know you're still loyal to the crown.
I do love the Queen.
Speaking of people loyal to the Queen. We've got a first-time guest with us today. We've got Mr. Jamie Donnelly from Be Quiet, Shout Loud joining us on the program. Welcome. First-time guest, long-time listener. Welcome.
Hello, thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We've got another person from the magical land of the Beatles and where Crazy Nights was an album people gave a shit about. So I know that Mike is extremely excited being surrounded by all these people loyal to the crown.
England is amazing.
Yeah, it can be. I'm just looking forward to seeing him actually play Crazy Nights. I've got tickets to 2 of the European dates so far on the new farewell tour. So hopefully I'll get to see
a new
Crazy
farewell
Nights.
tour.
Well, the original one was 20 years ago, wasn't it? So
Yes. So, yes, we already saw the new farewell tour.
Okay, I was thinking they might have reached the end of this current leg of the farewell tour and said, well, let's just keep this going.
We really like money. Let's just keep it going.
Let's keep farewelling.
Yeah.
So are they playing Crazy Nights on the European dates?
I'm not sure yet. I haven't seen any inklings of set lists, but all the other times that I've seen Kiss live, they've played Crazy Nights. So I would expect it.
Oh man, Steve is bummed that he's not in England for that
Why
show.
did we fly to England for this show, Greg?
Because Louisville was a lot cheaper.
I'm sure it was.
That is a crazy thing for me to hear because I've seen Kiss 19 times. And Jamie's like, oh, yeah, every time they do Crazy Nights. Like, I've seen once out of 19 shows.
How was seeing Crazy Nights live for you? Like, were your pants wet by the end of the song?
Yeah, my pants were wet. Most of the 13 rows in front of me were wet. I was wearing my Crazy Nights shirt. I think my cousin was wearing his as well. We were like freaking out, like, Arr! It was a great time. It was one of those shows it was one of the few shows actually where I went with like 8 friends. Normally it's like 2 or 3 of us or something, but it was a whole group of friends. We had an amazing time. Definitely one of my favorite concert memories of any band ever.
Well, speaking of concert memories of the band, typically how we start our shows is we go around the panel and talk about our histories with the band and this album, which totally is a thing because we decided, and it is officially called Fake Psycho Circus. So, Internet, when you refer to this album, it is called Fake Psycho Circus. We decided that officially on the Lipstick panel. That's the name of it. Fake Psycho Circus. # Fake Psycho Circus. Making this a thing.
So is it the circus or the psychosis that's fake?
So here's why it's called Fake Psycho Circus. As you know, I listen to a lot of Jim Steinman. And there are a lot of people who write songs that sound like Jim Steinman and give their songs to Meatloaf when he can't convince Jim Steinman to write songs for him. And my friends and I all called those songs Fake Jim Steinman. And that's just what we called them. We're like, yeah, when he had the Sesame Street guys write for Meatloaf, that's fake Jim Steinman.
I like that you say your friends and you all, when by your friends and you all, you mean like yourself, me, and maybe 2 friends from Cleveland.
Right. So all 4 of us who call it fake Jim Steinman. So Modern Girl by Meatloaf. Fantastic fake Jim Steinman song. And so I'm like, you know what? This is like Psycho Circus, but not. So we're calling it Fake Psycho Circus. Making it a thing because, like, you can't call it Carnival of Souls because that's already an album. And, like, Body and Soul is way too sexy of a title for this album. So, Fake Psycho Circus, the official name. And since it is Jamie's first time on the program, I want to hear his history and any history he might have with Fake Psycho Circus or any songs on this collection.
So my history with Kiss goes back to being obsessed with music videos and music as a youngster. And I remember seeing the music video to I Was Made for Loving You once, and I'd never seen anything like the 4 of them before in my life, but I knew that I wanted to start playing guitar because of that. So from there kind of stemmed my obsession with Kiss to the point where, as you've seen, Greg, I own some quite obscure Kiss records when I was putting all of those really bad-looking Crazy Night 12-inch promos out on Twitter the other day. And yeah, I've seen them a bunch of times. They don't really come over here very often, but every time they do, I try and catch them. Probably the best time I saw them. It's funny because recently I've been kind of reading back the reviews on KissFAQ of the shows that I saw, and I must get kiss blinded, maybe snow blind, maybe every time I see them live, because I'm just in awe of everything about them. So I'm looking forward to seeing them again. I'm actually traveling to Berlin to see them in a couple of weeks because I just couldn't wait for them to come to Newcastle. Yeah, so that's my history with the band. My history with Fake Psycho Circus is I didn't know it was a thing until Greg sent me the playlist link, but I had heard the two more commonly known tracks from that. So I'd heard It's My Life before, and I thought it was okay. And I'd heard Nothing Can Keep Me From You as well, which when I first heard it, I really loved because it was a Kiss song that I'd never heard before. So because of that, I loved it. But, you know, it's just another Beth, isn't it? It's just Paul Stanley trying to write Beth again. So it's, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
All right.
They need to do an album called Beth of Kiss, where it's just all the songs that sound like Kiss. I mean, sound like Beth.
Yeah, I think Paul Stanley just needs to do an album called I Don't Think Peter Really Wrote Beth, and I'm really sad that I didn't write Beth. Here are loads of versions of Beth that aren't Beth.
Ooh.
Would that podcast be Fake Beth?
Yeah.
You mean so just an episode ranking the Kiss ballads?
Well, all of Paul Stanley trying to write Beth is what I would put it as. You know, there are a bunch of them out there. Like Nothing Can Keep Me From You is kind of a Beth.
I finally found my way.
I finally found my way. They're just, you know, they're not as good as Beth.
True. Look, it's because Peter is the best member of Kiss. Moving on, we've got Mike Walsh.
All right, you want me to follow that lie? Okay. So, well, yeah, for me, as a fan, I became a fan around the time of the reunion, though oddly enough, not directly because of the reunion. So Psycho Circus was the first new Kiss album that I got, and it was actually, for me, the introduction to the concept of Japanese bonus tracks. So for me, I had gotten In Your Face on that Japanese version pretty much with the whole album. And then obviously Nothing Can Keep Me From You a year later on the Detroit Rock City soundtrack. And then I knew of It's My Life from the various demo versions and the various artists who have covered it. And then I remember at least a few years ago already when the other songs leaked on YouTube.
And Julian, how about you? What's your history with this album that is definitely canon and is totally a part of the discography as decided by the show?
Well, this is one of those albums that, well, you know, calling it an album feels weird, but we knew that they'd done 19 songs in the studio and only 10 had been released. And then Drips and Drabs came out, you know, over the next couple of years. You got It's My Life. So after the experience of living through Psycho Circus and that whole era and all the misery that it entails, I was actually hoping that there would be a lot better material that had been left out for one reason and another. So I've had these recordings for a very long time, well before they leaked. And they actually became, you know, some of the other versions of the stuff on Psycho Circus became my go-to versions with the differences in it. So, you know, I've enjoyed this stuff for a very long time. And it does feel like it's part of the Kiss catalog. And I wish actually that they would revisit Psycho Circus and re-release it as a deluxe edition with everything that should have been on it included on a second CD.
The real question is, when is the Fake Psycho Circus book coming out?
Sometime never.
Oh.
So, Steve, what's your history with Kiss and Fake Psycho Circus?
I mean, you all know my history with Kiss. I've been listening to the albums in order as we do this podcast project, and then I listened to Fake Psycho Circus a week ago before we rescheduled this particular episode that time, and I listened to it once, as is my wont. It was all right.
How does it stack up to the other albums in the catalog? Does it seem noticeably different than other Kiss albums? We're like, this is weird and doesn't seem like a real album, or like, yeah, this works.
I mean, it sounded like a Kiss album for the most part, but it was pretty B-sidey. I can see why this wasn't like this material as a gestalt didn't feel like a really solid album. Seemed like, a bunch of stuff that could very well have been left on the cutting room floor, and I don't object to them doing so.
It's the Machina 2 of Kiss albums, dude.
I do love Machina 2, though, so...
Yeah. So this is, for fans who listen to all episodes of our show and not just the Kiss episodes, which are people that don't exist, but for you people who I like to pretend exist...
You mean yourself and me?
Yes. There is a parallel in the Smashing Pumpkins catalog, which is another band's catalog we're going through for this show, where they have a album that came out and then had like a bunch of other songs that weren't released when that album came out as a companion. So they have an album called Machina, and they have an album called Machina 2, with all the leftovers that were not included in the original release, some of which are better than what ended up on the actual album, much as is the case here.
To be fair, that's just how Billy Corgan writes, he writes a bajillion songs.
And it's like, what are the shittiest ones? Those are the ones that go on the album, and then all the good ones I hide.
Right, exactly. If you've been following his Instagram lately, he's been talking about, like, frantically trying to winnow down the batch of songs that he has written right now to just 17 so that it can be one album.
Yep. So, my history with Kiss and fake Psycho Circus, for many, saw Kiss for the first time in 2004, thought they were rad, changed my life, yada, yada, yada. Okay, moving on. I did not know that these songs from fake Psycho Circus were online. I'd heard It's My Life and In Your Face and Nothing Can Keep Me From Dudes, but I had not heard the rest of these songs until very recently, and then I just saw a playlist, and like, holy crap, these songs are a thing, and the sound quality isn't shit like most Kiss demos leaked onto the internet. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And then I decided, you know what, we need more Kiss content because they're our most popular downloads. So let's do an album on this, and I liked calling it Fake Psycho Circus and just wanted that to be the canon name for the album. So that's when I'm like, let's do this episode and make this album canon. Hashtag canon, hashtag Fake Psycho Circus. And that's my history with this album. You guys ready to get into this ranking?
Yep.
Yes.
Rock and roll!
So coming in as the least best song on this fantastic fake album, we have Carnival of Souls coming in at the bottom. Which, Steve, I get it. You hate Carnival of Souls.
I mean, I ranked this one right in the middle. But, it's not because it was necessarily as all that good, but just because in a batch of B-sides, this one was maybe the least B-sidey.
Oh, yes, we do have a prepared statement from Gavin in regards to this tune and this album. He says, Gavin, who could not be here today because he's sick, he said, "Yowza, this is a rough bunch of tunes. Carnival of Souls and It's My Life are pretty good tunes, though. In Your Face is frustratingly lame. Also, something about Peter Criss missing the recording sessions due to paternity leave and Billy's nightmare nips." Thank you, Gavin.
It occurs to me, we were discussing before we started this, that who would do the best imitation of Gavin for reading off that recording. And the reason he's not here right now is because his voice is gone. So either of us could have done a pretty good imitation and be like, "Yowza, what a bad collection of songs."
Yeah, but I actually... Just to touch on, this song, I actually think this album overall, I prefer to Sonic Boom and Monster. I think there is more ambition with the songwriting. I think there's more creative chances taken. And to me, it doesn't sound as much as Kiss resting on their laurels as the next coming albums do. And so this song, this is full on Gene Simmons writing a very awkward, weird song, which he just like Gene will just get weird with his songwriting, and it won't be like really hard enough rock to be just super edgy, and it won't be poppy enough to be like, yeah, I'm having a fun time singing along to it. Like, this is just a weird, awkward song with like an awkward drum march throughout, and the hooks just make you feel uncomfortable, and it just kind of feels like chaos. But unlike Boomerang, which is just chaos that sounds like shit, at least this song builds a sense of atmosphere and is enjoyable to listen to, where it's driving It has a nice little Bob Seger-esque breakdown in the middle, which is really weird. It's like, okay, now we're Bob Seger. But you know what? I dig it. I think this is a fun tune. Silence.
Everybody's just so full of opinions of this, just stepping on each other to be next.
You know, when it's the title track to your previous album that's left off the album, that says it all.
Yeah. Ouch. Ouch. Yeah, that's fair.
Do we know when this track was first recorded? Was this recorded at the time of the Carnival of Souls album?
This, I think, was a re-recording, but yes, it was recorded at the time of the Carnival of Souls album, and I think that version, the original version, went on Gene Simmons' Vault.
Yeah, wow.
There's like 5 different versions of it if you really want to get into Carnival of Souls and torture yourself, but, you know, not many people do, for some reason.
No. Yeah, really surprising. There are moments of this track that I thought were really cool, like that bluesy chord progression is really cool. It sounds like something that Bruce Kulick would have done on Revenge, but listening to it in this form, it sounded really strange, because it is really strange. And the idea of this ever getting close to actual Carnival of Souls just it made my brain fall out of my head.
Yeah, because this is like the fun pop single on Carnival of Souls. Like, hey guys, see, we're not so dark, we're having a fun time.
Well,
yeah,
the trick is Carnival of Souls. You know, Carnival of Souls was Gene taking his Revenge era songwriting and trying to expand that to an entire album, and it just comes off sounding like a bunch of B-sides to Revenge. This one kind of sounds like a B-side to Revenge. It makes sense to me.
I'll say this is better than the Revenge filler. Hot take Troy and at it again.
A microcosm of Carnival of Souls, the album. It's just like not quite as good as the best parts of Revenge.
Yeah, I think the trick is, so this song doesn't sound like a Carnival of Souls song. It just sounds like it fits in well with the Psycho Circus era. Like,
well, but it's a Carnival of Souls-esque lyrics, though, in that it's like Gene trying to be deep and meaningful.
But the thing is, that's kind of what he was doing on this whole album, though.
Yeah.
So I think that I really like where Kiss was going conceptually with Psycho Circus in a lot of ways, where Gene was meant to be this, like, he was the demon, but he was more of a dark, questioning figure. Like, he was leading you into the abyss and into the darkness, taking you on a journey, as mentioned on the previous episode, much like Alice Cooper would take you on a journey through darkness. So, like, I think that Gene's character was, you know, almost a ringmaster of sorts. If you had the Psycho Circus action figures, and I didn't really read the comics, but I think he was tied to the ringmaster of the circus.
You literally have the comic omnibus, don't you?
Yeah, but like,
You didn't read it?
I didn't read all of them because I just wasn't as into it, because it was Todd McFarlane. Ooh, I'm so edgy, and it's the 90s. Oh, yeah. So it's a slog to get through.
I didn't have time to read a comic book.
Look, I didn't have time to read a comic book that didn't wow me.
I haven't had time to read a comic book in the last decade.
Look, I flipped through it for the art, and I thought it was really cheap. It was $20. I'm like, yeah, I'll get around to reading this, and then I didn't, because look, the Iliad is better than Kiss comics. You know, hashtag hot take Troyan.
I didn't have time to read the comic book because I was too busy reading the Iliad. Way to have that drop.
Nerd! It's fair. But what I would say is I like the lyrical themes, and Gene being a ringmaster, taking you into uncomfortable situations where you're questioning yourself, questioning your psyche. I think it's a good shtick for the demon character, where you mentioned on one of the songs how, like, Gene was, like, you know, offered like a Faustian deal. I think that angle of the demon of, like, you know, hey, take a trip with me, it's totally going to turn out okay, wink wink, I think is interesting lyrically. I think it works well thematically, and I think Psycho Circus should have been a double album, but I would say a double album in the sense of a Smashing Pumpkins album, so I just need 20 more songs for Psycho Circus, and then it'd be great. So I would want all these songs, all the songs on the first album, and a bunch more, because we need more Peter cuts. But yeah, I dig this tune. I think it's great. Mike, we haven't heard from you yet on this cut. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I've just been kind of laying low, and pretty much in one way or another, everyone addressed kind of what I wanted to get at. Even you brought up the boomerang factor. For me, the biggest problem with Carnival of Souls is it's trying to be an intense rocker, but its intensity in place of a song. And, you know, if it was 2 minutes, maybe it could get by or something. But this thing is over 5 minutes long. And I'm like, it's just kind of a whole bunch of that for most of the song. And I did think of the whole Boomerang thing where I don't hate this song nearly as much as you hate Boomerang. But I was wondering it. And, like, I mean, I was listening to it and wondering, oh, is this concept what annoys Bear Frog about Boomerang? Like, because I'm just listening to Carnival of Souls and it's just a bunch of like banging to me pretty much, but I'm not really getting a lot of song enjoyment out of it. Whereas I love Boomerang, but I was like, oh snap, is this what Boomerang does to Greg? Like, oh, like maybe that's why he doesn't like it. So I still totally disagree with you, but at least this gave me a little more perspective into how you hear Boomerang.
Insight into the twisted psyche of Greg.
Exactly.
Real Carnival of Souls in his head there.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, you know, comparing this to Boomerang, I think this works more as a cohesive piece than Boomerang does, where, like, it is meant to be, like, weird and chaotic, like an insane, you know, like a Psycho Circus. It's meant to be insane, it's meant to be chaotic, versus with Boomerang, I think a lot of that song would be forgiven if Gene did not have such a clean vocal. You know, not to beat Boomerang into the ground again, but I think a clean vocal with that song just, like, made it even worse. Like, every terrible decision that could be possibly made in a Kiss song was made within Boomerang, which, in a way, I do admire. As someone who makes intentionally bad music as a joke sometimes, Boomerang is great in that sense. But I think Carnival of Souls, it's never going to be one of my favorite Kiss songs, but I'm glad it's a thing. I'm glad it exists, and I enjoy listening to it to a degree. I probably rank it towards the bottom of the catalog, but it's like at the bottom, but at the top of the bottom, I guess. High praise from me. Do you have any other comments on Carnival of Souls before we move on? All right. Oh, no transition drop, Steve?
I'm looking for a cricket drop, just because I don't appear to have it anymore.
Been so long.
It's somewhere, right? Like my drop fingers are getting rusty.
All right, I'm done talking about this crappy song.
All right, moving on. Yeah, turns out an album that a lot of Kiss fans don't have a ton of nostalgia with doesn't bring up the same heated emotions. Weird.
This will be the most polite and relaxed episode we've ever done.
Next up on the list, which I thought was going to come in last place based upon the votes that came in initially, we have Rain Keeps Falling next on the list.
Ooh, ouch.
So yeah, 3 of us voted this song as the last place song.
And then there's the idiot.
Yeah, this one's much more polarizing, clearly. The 3 of us hated it, and one person was like, yeah, this is like the 4th best song.
I enjoy it, even though I ranked it last. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have put this above Carnival of Souls. Because I think Carnival of Souls I like more conceptually, where it fits into the album. But I think Rain Keeps Falling is ultimately a song I enjoy more. It's like, what if Gene Simmons wrote an 80s new wave song and kept some of those 80s new wave production elements during the Psycho Circus era? And I dig it. I think it's catchy. I think it's melodic. I think it doesn't fit the character of the demon at all, and someone else probably should have sang it. So if it was, you know, maybe sung by Peter, I think that would help balance the album out a bit more. Give Peter another song about rain to sing. But as it stands, I enjoy it. I think it's just, I like that chorus effect on the guitar. And just, I really like that it's a different sonic landscape for Kiss. And just that it is different. You know, some of the harmonies and some of the vocals are a little bit pitchy, and but I think, you know, it's because it's not fully produced in the states that we're listening to it. But I still dug it. I thought it was fun. Nice change of pace.
See, the trick is the reason this had to be a Gene song is because G stands for God, and Gene as the demon is angry at God, thus rain keeps falling. That or they would have to have a song that included the full gerund, and that would just be completely off-brand for Kiss.
That's true. But I don't know. I think this tune works, and I think I don't know. Give it to Peter to sing, just to add more variety to the album.
So That triplet intro that they used at the start of the song sounded very familiar. Is there a different song that does something very similar to that I'm spacing on?
That kind of stuff reminded me very much of Parasite.
Yeah, a little bit. I think, musicians develop a certain style where you can hear an Eddie Van Halen solo, and you know it's an Eddie Van Halen solo, and he's not necessarily ripping himself off from a different solo, but he has certain trends that he does musically.
Right.
Same with Ace. And so Gene, as a bassist, he has certain things that he does, and so we probably just picked up on that subconsciously, where it's not sounding like any exact Kiss song, but you've heard enough of his bass playing where we're like, this sounds really familiar. That's kind of what I feel with it. So, Jamie, you also put this correctly at the bottom.
Yeah, I think what you just said there, Greg, kind of hit the nail on the head for me, which is, if it was sang by somebody else, I think I probably would have promoted it a little bit higher, but Gene with a soft voice just doesn't do it for me.
And I don't think it's necessarily a bad vocal, it's just, I think, because Psycho Circus is so conceptual in so many ways, it would have fit more thematically to give it to someone else to sing. So I don't think that's like a bad recording or a bad song, and I'm able to accept that a bit more from Gene, but in terms of which songs have the most right to exist,
What?
that's why I put this one at the bottom, because like this song, it's not a brilliant song, and it's not... there are some amazing Kiss demos that never landed on albums like Sword and Stone or Time Traveler. This song isn't on that level, but it's still enjoyable. And then we've got some disagreement. So, Julian, you're the most wrong about this one.
I am not. You're all delusional. This is definitely not me. Listen, this is like the purest post-revenge kind of Gene writing. It's melodic. It's got a great backbeat. I mean, that's probably what I enjoy about it the most. It's just the vibe that comes across with that bass line. And he was really trying to write a lot of shit with rain in the lyric and as the concept back at this time before he went all stupid with stuff like Carnival of Souls. So for me, it's one of my favorite of these songs because it's more kind of Gene getting outside of the demon wheelhouse. He's not trying to be Cookie Monster. He's not trying to be outrageous. He's just trying to write kind of a more accessible type of material. And, maybe that was him with Silent Rage coming through because that's who he originally demoed it with. So, I mean, even some of the stuff that made it onto the Psycho Circus album, We Are One, kind of competes directly with this. So you can see why they left it off. But, it's one of my favorites. When it first came out, I think on one of his Family Jewels box set samplers, I was like thrilled. It was the only reason I bought that because I don't watch Family Jewels, but the bonus CD with a version of that was well worth having.
You know what? You kind of sold me on it. I'm wrong about this song. It's great. But Steve really doesn't like when Gene is actually being sincere, as evidenced by him not liking Carnival of Souls, so that's why Steve ranked it at the bottom.
I guess. I think the song was just too long and too boring. I mean, for the most part. I got to a point listening to the song, like, okay, the song's over now, right? And I brought it up on the scrubber and looked at it and was like, what do you mean there's 70 seconds left? Come on!
But, man, Julian sold me on the sincerity of Gene Simmons and just, like, him sincerely feeling art.
No, Gene Simmons doesn't have a sincere bone in his body. Come on, it's all calculated.
Right, but slightly less calculated and slightly more sincere is enough of a selling point.
Okay, calculated sincerity comes across.
Yes. Mike, how do you feel about this one?
For fake sincerity.
I'm much more on the Julian side of things. So when the various demos had leaked, I mean, I had heard a lot of this stuff in one shape or another, so I already knew In Your Face. I already knew Nothing Can Keep Me From You. Obviously, those already had official releases. It's My Life had already been released on the box set, and I already knew Sweet and Dirty Love and Carnival of Souls from their versions on Gene's solo album, Asshole. So, in terms of stuff that I was really hearing fresh, it was like I Want to Rule the World, and that one kind of bored me. Body and Soul, I think it's cool. I thought it was cool, but you could kind of hear how it turned into Raise Your Glasses. So it was like a new song, but at the same time, not totally. And when it came to Rain Keeps Falling, it just sounded really fresh to me. I really dig the groove. It doesn't really sound like a Kiss song, but I think it's really cool. It's one of those songs where I listen to it and I'm like, I don't even really know how to describe it or what to compare this to, but I'm just really enjoying it. In terms of it being different, I don't think it probably should have made the album, although I do actually like it better than some of the songs that made the album, but I just don't know if it really fit with what they were doing or what they should have been doing at that time. But as a song itself, I really like it.
All right, so here, I'll give you this. Have it sung by Peter. Would you take that over I Finally Found My Way?
I like it better as a song than I Finally Found My Way. Although, remembering back on the non-fake Psycho Circus podcast, I like I Finally Found My Way.
Can I just interject and say that I approve of non-fake Psycho Circus? We should change the canonical name of that album.
Psycho Circus is no longer called Psycho Circus. It is now called non-fake Psycho Circus. Hashtag canon. Hashtag non-fake Psycho Circus.
Surely with the lack of Peter and Ace in Psycho Circus, it's already fake Psycho Circus.
Ooh,
so real fake Psycho Circus.
Right?
I guess, you know what, if you're asking me right now, that's an interesting question. Have Peter sing Rain Keeps Falling. If you could go back to 13-year-old me when the album came out and give me, final say on that, at the time, I probably would have said, yeah, we could have this Rain Keeps Falling song in place of, let's just do another ballad. I probably would have made that call. Although in hindsight, I do enjoy I Finally Found My Way. So in my world, I'm glad I can hear and listen to both songs.
Now I'm just picturing Kiss showing up at young Mike Walsh's home and being like, "Hey, we need you to make a decision on our album for us."
Right.
As much as you joke, I can't tell you how many times I kind of dreamed of that with Kiss or another band. I'm like, I wish one of my favorite bands would consult me. I could guide them in the right direction on this.
When I was a young lad, I dreamed of being a consultant for rock musicians.
Yeah, I think you said it jokingly, but yeah, there's no joke about that. That was literally like,
I wish I could do Kiss's taxes.
Gene Simmons comes to young Mike Walsh's house in full demon makeup, wearing the battle armor, and is like, hey, here's my W-2.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great.
So do we have any other comments on Rain Keeps Falling before we move on?
I like that they dropped the G again.
Yep.
There we go.
Old school.
Old school, keeping it old school.
Yeah.
Well, next up on the list we have...
All right, I'm done talking about this crappy song.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, next up on the list we have Nothing Can Keep Me From You. So, this one is the most controversial song on Fake Psycho Circus because it came out a year later on the Detroit Rock City soundtrack. But I didn't feel like doing an entire episode for one Kiss song, so that's why it's on this. Hashtag Fake Psycho Circus, hashtag canon. So, and also a quick shout out to the Peter Criss song Hope that ended up on One for All. He claimed that he wanted to do that song on Psycho Circus and it didn't end up on there, and I think it's great, but his vocal on One for All doesn't sound good. Anyway, Nothing Can Keep Me From You. When I first heard this song, I thought it sucked. I thought it was terrible. It just, the production to me sounded like the Aerosmith song Don't Want to Miss a Thing, but worse. And then I saw that Rob Cavallo, the Green Day producer, produced it. I'm like, oh, that's probably why I hate the production on this. But the thing is, I like Diane Warren. Diane Warren is a phenomenal songwriter, and I love Paul Stanley as a vocalist. And, there's a lot conceptually in this track that I like. Where I like the idea of Paul Stanley wailing it out on a killer vocal. And I think I actually like the songwriting that... I think I like the writing on this track. I think Diane Warren wrote a great song, but just the performance just seems off. It doesn't. I think if this was sung by Steven Tyler, I probably would have bought it more. But for some reason, Paul Stanley in this production setting, it doesn't work for me. It feels off. It feels fake. And even though I ultimately like the song and enjoy listening to it now, like, this feels like the most fake song on Fake Psycho Circus to me. Hashtag Fake Psycho Circus, hashtag canon.
It is a little weird, Greg, when you and I both agree so precisely.
Look at our rankings, dude.
On a song, like your critique of just like whatever they're doing on the song, Paul doesn't sound earnest. He sounds like he's just trying too hard to, sound serious and real on this song, and it doesn't. Yeah,
and the thing is,
it doesn't land.
And he can do that kind of vocal.
Right.
He's done it before.
He's done it a bunch of times.
So it's just for some reason this doesn't work. And apparently Paul Stanley loves the song and thinks it's great and thinks that he killed it on the song. But for some reason it's not meshing as sincere. And when you look at it in the context of Detroit Rock City, which was a teen comedy, but they wanted to repeat the success of Aerosmith's Don't Want to Miss a Thing. But a teen comedy is very different from an action blockbuster.
Armageddon?
Yeah, an action blockbuster having a really big emotional ballad makes sense, but a teen comedy, a ballad at the end doesn't make sense. It's, it's supposed to be rocking and raunchy. And this song didn't fit with the movie it was pitched to promote, and just felt like Kiss trying to do what Aerosmith had already done and done better, which is, hey, let's have Diane Warren write us a sweet ballad. Here's Kiss trying to do the same thing, but with a movie that doesn't thematically work, and it doesn't sound like Kiss. Any sense of the Kiss sound has been stripped from this track. It sounds like any other ballad of the day, and because Paul is the only member of Kiss on it, that's probably why. So this one, I think it's a good song. I think it's a good vocal. But it ultimately does not succeed for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so much going on there with what you said, and it's all pretty accurate. And there's some good stuff and some bad stuff. In terms of the song and the connection to Detroit Rock City, it's weird because it's not even really in the movie. It's just like in the end credits. And I think being the one new song for that soundtrack by Kiss it was just a weird decision. It maybe could have worked out better if they had incorporated it into the movie, but maybe they had done a few new songs where they had like a big anthem, a sleazy rocker, and then like maybe this one, and just like a few things that kind of actually fit in with different scenes of the movie. Although even that would be kind of weird because it was, set in the 70s and it was supposed to be 70s Kiss, and this doesn't really sound like that at all. Obviously there's, you can't escape the Diane Warren connection and wanting to be like, I don't want to miss a thing by Aerosmith and everything. And I totally get that. And at the same time, it's one of those things where like my heart goes out to Kiss. Cause I think about how they were on the Diane Warren train back in 87 with, Crazy Nights. And I'm like, oh man, see, they were using Diane Warren first. And then 10 years later, it's this huge thing for Aerosmith. So I can get how Kiss was like, but we want some of that. So I don't blame them for wanting that success. I think it's a great Paul vocal. I know you kind of feel like it's not. I know you feel like it's technically good, but not sincere. I mean, I really think he shines as a singer on the song. It's just an odd Kiss song, especially at an odd time in their career. And I remember the very first time I heard it was late at night. There was this like small radio station that didn't seem to be around very long called Rebel Radio, and they would play mostly more metal stuff like Megadeth, but every once in a while it'd be like 80s rock stuff like Rat, Motley Crue, or whatever. And I remember the guy saying, hey, we have a brand new Kiss song, we're gonna debut it later tonight. And he even introduced it like right before they played it as, we got the new Kiss song, we're gonna play it. This might be the only time we play it, but it's the new Kiss song, so it is what it is. And I remember thinking like, oh no, I don't like where this is going. And I pretty much assumed it was going to be a ballad. And even though I enjoyed the song, even from the first time, I just kind of felt weird, like, oh no, Rebel Radio hates it, and Rebel Radio hates Kiss, and it's not rock or metal enough. And like, oh man, like, but I like Kiss, and I don't want people to think they're not cool. So yeah, I actually really like this song, but I get why it's not for a lot of Kiss fans, and just the circumstances behind it don't really do it a whole lot of favors. But yeah, in another world, maybe by another artist or something, there's a really good song there, and that I think a lot of people would enjoy.
It's certainly no Turn on the Night, going back to your comment about Crazy Nights,
no Turn on the Night,
which, it's a different caliber Diane Warren, in my opinion. It's probably closer to the dross on Smashes that she co-wrote. But here's the problem. When you go to Diane Warren and said, I really want you to write me a song like I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, you really should step back and say, that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking a hit, not something syrupy, shitty like what Aerosmith just did. And that was always my problem with it, that it was so contrived, so calculated. Paul vocals were just so pompous and preening and self-important and pretentious and yeah, I can't really even get there. That it really annoyed the living shit out of me that it was a cop-out when he was supposed to be writing 3 new songs for that soundtrack. So I've hated this song from day one. I hate it to this day, nearly. I've referred to it as Nothing Can Keep Me From Puking on You whenever I talk about it.
That's a Gigi Allen song.
However, this past weekend I was at the Indie Expo, and the lovely Lisa Kulik came on stage with Bruce and an acoustic guitar, and of course Bruce played bass on this recording as a session player, and sang the living daylights out of it. And when she came off stage, I was standing with her talking, and I was like, oh my God, you just made me like that song for 5 minutes. So there you go. I think the comment that it could be a really good song by another artist is absolutely true, but it's still bottom of my list on this Alterna Circus.
Hashtag Alterna Circus, hashtag not canon. Jamie, how about you? What's your thoughts on this one?
This was the song that I was most familiar with from the playlist, and it was something that I absolutely adored the first time I heard it, simply because it was one of those kind of Kiss discoveries, because it wasn't on. I'd rinsed the back catalogue, and then all of a sudden there was this song that I hadn't heard before, and I heard it the first time I watched Detroit Rock City over the end credits. But as I've kind of grown up, I've realised the error of my ways significantly, because it is just a really, really bad attempt of I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. We've already got one I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. We don't need another.
We already had one, and honestly, that one's too much. Yeah. And again, kind of like I alluded to earlier, I think I never, as a younger Kiss fan, I never really realised just how much Paul shits on Peter Criss, and have become much more aware of it recently. And, this just seems to feed Paul's obsession with trying to write Beth, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Paul Stanley shitting on Peter Criss, the guy who wrote a hit ballad and then decided, I want to do like old school, like Motown kind of stuff. And then Paul Stanley starts to do old school Motown kind of stuff. Like, Paul shitting on Peter Criss. Like, there are legitimate reasons Paul Stanley can shit on Peter Criss. His music is not one of the reasons to shit on Peter Criss.
For sure.
Are there any unreleased videos of Paul shitting on Peter Criss?
When he did a guest spot at a Gigi Allen concert, yes. One of my favorite Kiss bootlegs. So yeah, any other comments on Nothing Can Keep Me From You before we move on?
Can we please move on quickly?
Yep. Actually, I just thought I do have another comment on it. Weird that that's the first time I've asked that and answered. But I would say Paul Stanley's vocal, very technically good, but I think he is not selling me on the character of the song. When Paul Stanley sang other vocals in the past, I have believed him to be feeling those emotions. I don't feel real emotions from Paul Stanley. I just feel just him belting a song competently, but not feeling emotion behind it. All right, next up on the list we have I Want to Rule the World. I like the Beatles, so I like this song. All right. Well, next up on the list.
You said the Beatles, and what else can you say about Gene than he loves the Beatles? And this just has that great Beatley vibe to it. I mean, obviously, it's not in the same caliber as the Beatles. Probably shouldn't be in the same paragraph or on the same page, actually in the same book. But it's still him doing his version of that sort of material. It could have been so much better. I think if there had been more harmonies, 3-part, otherwise, it's still one of my favorites on this alternative album.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positive things to discuss with it. I think it's I think the vocal melodies during the verses are phenomenal and very Beatle-esque, and I dig them. I really like this one lyrically, where this one seems like one of the most honest and earnest songs Gene Simmons has ever written. I want to rule the world. Like, I want to be rich and successful, and you're not going to find it on Genius.com. Oh, wait, did you find it on Genius.com?
No, that's a Mac Miller song that came up.
Okay, never mind. But I think the way I interpret this song lyrically, it's a Gene Simmons singing a unrequited love song to Paul Stanley, where I want to rule the world, but it would mean nothing without you. Like, a lot of these lyrics seem like he is singing to Paul and about their partnership and how he wants to be successful, how he was saved by his guitar, and how they, did it together. And so I think he probably wrote this song very sincerely to show appreciation for Paul Stanley. And grumpy Paul Stanley, who was annoyed with how much Bruce Fairbairn paid attention to Gene's ideas, probably thought this song was shit, didn't fit on the album. It's like, I don't care that you wrote this song about how much you love me. I'm kind of grumpy, so fuck you, Gene. And I think it's too bad, because I think this is Gene being really sincere in a song with some Beatles-esque elements. I think it does, I don't know, maybe it could stand to be a little bit faster and a little bit shorter, but I like all the different elements to it, and I think it's a really enjoyable listen. And I think while I Am Yours, which is another Beatles-sounding song, has some better individual elements, I think this one is a better complete listen, for me personally.
So it's the second most sincere Gene song after the other one where he sings about how he wants to be rich and famous and rule the world?
Yeah,
This one has a little bit of a lie in that he appreciates having Paul around while he's rich and famous and ruling the world, but he could take him or leave him, let's be honest.
I think Gene Simmons sincerely loves Paul Stanley.
Oh, I'm sure. But if you told him, hey, do you have to choose between being rich and famous and Paul, which do you think he'd pick?
I'm actually going to go out on a limb here. I think Gene Simmons really loves Paul Stanley, and I think it is unrequited, and Paul does not love Gene that much and just views him as, like, a partner. But I think that, like, Gene Simmons is sincerely in love with Paul Stanley and would, like, ride or die for Paul. I sincerely believe that, and I know there's going to be the cynical fans who are like, no, he would definitely take money over Paul Stanley. But I think that Gene Simmons is sincerely in love with Paul Stanley.
Now I want to hear the Gene Simmons song, Ride or Die for Paul.
That'd be great. So, we already had a Julian comment a little bit. Julian, do you have more thoughts on this song in particular you wanted to get into? Do you think Gene would ride or die for Paul?
Oh, any day of the week. Definitely not.
Any day of the week he would not.
No, I was just looking at some of my notes on this song going way back, and Gene was going for a Mott the Hoople vibe. I think he got it, but the weirdest thing is my notes say that he had intended Ace to do this, which just boggles the fucking mind.
Yeah, I mean, one, it's Ace singing with like really good melody, so that's step one.
I mean, can you imagine Ace acting his way through this? Mm. But, let's get to one of the really nice parts of the song. And one of the positive messages is the lyric. Here's hoping all your dreams come true forever. Isn't that just sweet? Aww. Doesn't that just like make you all warm and fuzzy, or is it?
I don't have an aw drop.
You need one.
Yeah, we should get one.
I've got
at least that you need a patronizing.
With the oil of Olivier.
Actually, that worked pretty well.
that works. A patronizing,
But yeah, I think it's sincere, and I feel like this batch of songs is more sincere than Sonic Boom and Monster. And that's probably why this batch of songs works better for me than the majority of those albums.
For me, this one just falls short. It's just kind of boring. I don't hate it, but first of all, you see the title, "I Want to Rule the World," and you're thinking of Gene, and you're thinking of, I'm picturing this awesome rock song or like an anthem or something, and then it's not, and then I'm like, oh, okay, because then I can appreciate it from a different angle, like, oh, it's actually more of a ballad style, or it's more of it's either a love song. Greg, you're mentioning it as like a tribute to Paul Stanley, and that's kind of a cool thought. It could be a romantic song, where it's like, I would be nothing with without you, my partner, or whatever the case may be. It could even be I would, it wouldn't be anything without you as a child or something. So it could go a few different angles, but really for any of those angles, I'm just not sold, I guess. And so the concept could be really cool of "I want to rule the world," as like a love gesture or whatever, but it just didn't connect for me. I like "We Are One" better, which made the album. One obscure thing I want to mention, and this is probably just for me, I would love to find out if one other person who listens to this podcast either makes the connection or goes out and seeks the connection. In the beginning of the song, it kind of just a little bit vaguely reminded me of "Tell Me Everything" by Cheap Trick, which is a song I'm sure no one knows. It's on their "Woke Up with a Monster" album, which is
a great album.
Thank you. Exactly. It's a great album. I love the song "Tell Me Everything." I think Rick Nielsen has said that's his favorite song on the album. As a whole, I think that's a much better song. But something about "I Want to Rule the World" in the beginning was giving me that vibe. And I just personally like making obscure connections between different music that I love. So that is what I have to say about that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with your take on the song. It just seemed really average to me in comparison to the rest of the tracks that are on here. I didn't feel like it went anywhere, but what I did absolutely love about this song, and I mean it when I say love too, was it really feels like Gene's making a conscious effort to write choruses again, which I think should be applauded.
And ironically, I think the chorus is the weakest part of the song. I think those verses and that pre-chorus is so stinking good. And it's like, yeah, that chorus is okay. I can handle this chorus. But the rest of it is what really shines for me.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, think it's safe to move on from this one?
An overwhelming meh.
I was pretty positive towards
Except
it.
from Greg.
But this is like the one disagreement you and I have on the album. We're like, yeah, I really like this one. And then otherwise, Steve and I are pretty much the same. Speaking of Steve and I having the same ranking and same opinion on a song, next up is Tie Your Mother Down. I mean, Sweet and Dirty Love. So this song is a less good version of Tie Your Mother Down by Queen. Any other comments before we move on?
I think the song a bit short. I mean, I put it at number one just because it's like a fun rock song. I mean, it just simply rocks. I think at the time when Psycho Circus came out, that's what most fans wanted. It should have been on the album. I think it really shows the confusion and the turmoil that the band was going through. I think it backs up what I said a lot of times on the Psycho Circus, the non-fake Psycho Circus, or whatever we're calling it.
Yeah, non-fake Psycho Circus.
Real, fake,
hashtag
non-fake, real #, Psycho Circus podcast, where I was fairly critical of overall legendary producer Bruce Fairbairn. I think it just shows sloppy on his part to overlook such a great song like this. I just think songs more like this and a few others that I guess we'll get to later on this podcast, in addition to some of the ones that did make Psycho Circus, would have just made for an overall better album, a more Kiss-esque album. Yeah, clearly there's that Tie Your Mother Down connection. I remember when this came out on Asshole, that was what we were all talking about. Oh, wow, that's so Tie Your Mother Down, which it is, but it's a great song in its own right as well. It's not, the whole song isn't really a Tie Your Mother Down. It's mostly just that riff.
But that riff is Tie Your Mother Down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
Maybe they didn't want to get sued by Alice Cooper and Queen for the same album. You're like, we don't have enough money for that.
if that's true, which like we know it's not, but it's a funny concept, sure. Then in that case, they should have gotten sued by Queen and not included "Dreamin'." I like the song "Dreamin'," but "Sweet and Dirty Love" is a much more appropriate song for a Kiss album.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more appropriate for a Kiss album because, like, it's Gene Simmons and it's my penis. Yes, that is very much missing from Psycho Circus, a song about Gene or Paul's dick. Very much missing from the album.
Dick. That's the crux of it. I as a straight man, want more dick.
Yeah, not enough dick on Psycho Circus. I think we can all agree on that. But the thing is, Dreamin' is the kind of song where you might not notice that it's Alice Cooper's 18. It hides it much better. The melody's very different. It's just, some of the chordal patterns for the guitars are similar. But this song, as soon as you hear it, you think Kiss is covering Tie Your Mother Down. And that's a big problem. Like, if he wanted to give Brian May a co-write credit on the track, I'd be fine with that if it's just a reinterpretation of a different musical idea, treating it as a sample, giving him credit, sure. But, as a guy who really loves Queen, really loves Tie Your Mother Down, and the thing is, this is a good song, but I'm just reminded that this is a ripoff of Tie Your Mother Down's riff, and Tie Your Mother Down is an overall better song, where, I like the verse melody, I like the chorus, I think it's catchy, I think it's fun, I think this is a good song, but Tie Your Mother Down has the same riff, and it's like, I can't get past it, where I do enjoy this. I even enjoy it on the Asshole album, where you've got, the Revenge era Kiss lineup just knocking that track out of the park. And this version sounds good too. So it's not that this is a bad song. It's just it stole the riff from Tie Your Mother Down very explicitly.
I think if that was the one thing holding it back from being released or anything like that, at that point, someone just needed to alter that riff. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like you have a song there, a fun Kiss rock song, then just rewrite the riff, And
it needed a different riff.
Right. Riffs can be swapped out.
Yeah.
But so, be fair to Gene, he'd been trying to use this riff since he originally wrote this riff and parts of the song in 1975, where very few people would have known Tie Your Mother Down. So, he'd been trying it over and over and over, 75, 76. I mean, it's all kind of relative.
Yeah, right around the same time, yeah.
So he would have heard, if he heard Tie Your Mother Down, he immediately tried to steal it. And then he kept trying to use it for the next 20 years and was finally able to use it. And then it didn't make the album. So it ended up on Asshole with the rest of his leftover scraps.
Yeah, which we will be listening to on this podcast because of Steve.
Yeah.
Thanks, pal.
You're welcome.
All right, so Steve, you put this in the same spot as me. Did you notice it was Tie Your Mother Down?
I didn't, which is probably why I was confused. I was, listening to the song, trying to figure out, what on Destroyer was this one supposed to be? Because I can't quite place it.
Then you're like, oh, it's from A Day at the Races. Got it.
Right. Also from Bad for Good and Bad Out of Hell 3. With the I'm built for speed, you're built for love, something, my
So it's
sweet,
let
dirty
me
love.
rip off Jim Steinman and Queen, but in a blues rock song.
Yeah. And also that reverb was bad. That's another thing I docked at points for, was just whatever reverb they were using did not sound good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you like it better on Asshole, because guess what? You'll get to listen to that song again with different production.
Yay! I mean, I'll be listening to it right next to, Gene's terrible cover of Firestarter, so we'll probably give it some bonus points.
Jamie, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it very much made the middle of the pack for me. Definitely got the Queen reference. It reminded me a lot of Don't Believe a Word as well, the Thin Lizzy track.
Oh, man. This song is so shit in comparison to all the songs we're bringing up. And this is a good song, but Don't Believe a Word. Oh, man, if I had made that comparison, I might have ranked this at the bottom.
Yeah, if you listen to it again with Don't Believe a Word in mind, I think you'll pick it out. I'd have probably ranked this song higher because I do think it's a cool song, but I genuinely shuddered just before the solo when Gene says Ace, because I don't think that's Ace at all.
Oh.
It really doesn't sound like Ace.
I don't know. It's kind of
plays
sloppy
guitar
and incoherent. It could be Ace.
See, I don't know. I'm not a guitar player at all, but I even noticed that just a few days ago when listening to this. I was like, ooh, that really does not sound like Ace.
Nothing about the track feels like Ace to
I
me.
was willing to maybe give the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I know the circumstances regarding Psycho Circus, but to be fair, since this was a demo, it could have been like, okay, and then I'm going to say Ace, and then here's where Ace will actually play.
Yeah,
So
of course.
that could have been the case, but then again, that wasn't really much of the case for a lot of the real album anyway, so I don't know.
If only he'd mumbled a little bit better so that you could be like, wait, did he say Ace or Bruce? Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially if you could fit Tommy in there as well, I suppose.
Chambers! Gesundheit.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the solo, I don't know, it's a very sloppy, weird solo, so that's kind of why I think I'm willing to accept it could be Ace, just because it is so stinking sloppy. I'm like, yeah, this sounds like something Ace could have farted out. So
Yeah.
that's why I accept the idea of it being Ace, even though it sounds like a different sloppy guitar player. Like, maybe Ace's, his doppelganger from another universe was the one who did it.
They just flew in Johnny Rotten for whatever reason.
Right.
I don't know if that guy can even play guitar. I assume he doesn't play it well, though.
I mean, like every other member of the Sex Pistols, of course he does not play an instrument well.
Oh.
Wouldn't it be great if, like, just one of them was, like, a virtuoso? Like, the drummer's like, yeah, I'm actually a classically trained pianist.
That's why I play drums.
Yeah. Just like Yoshiki. Just like, yeah, I'm really good at keyboards. That's why I play the drums.
Jazz is an accident.
Waiting to happen.
Yes. Waiting to have happened.
So, do we have any other comments on this one in particular?
I think the slide made me sad. The slide guitar in the riff made me feel sad because the only other time I could think of, that I've heard a slide used with Kiss is it the solo for I Just Wanna has a slide in it?
And it sounds very good on that track, I'll say.
It sounds very good on that track, but on this riff, it just made me feel. I felt sad and empty.
Yeah, Gene Simmons making us feel sad and empty. You know what? I'll toss out a quick poll to the panelists. Did Psycho Circus need a sleazy sex song? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, of course you're going to say yes,
I mean,
Mike.
Mike clearly says yes. Steve clearly says no. The rest of the panel whose votes count.
All right, so Julian said yes. Julian's vote matters. Jamie, did Kiss need a sleazy sex song on Psycho Circus?
Absolutely.
All right, and I am going to say no, but it wouldn't have hurt the album if they had it. So in the end, yes, Kiss should have had a sleazy sex song on Psycho Circus. Moving on to the next track on the list, we have Body and Soul. Steve and I are correct about how great this song is. Weird that
It's a very Paul song, isn't it?
Oh, this is Paul Stanley. This is prime Paul Stanley. Like, if you want a sweet slice of Paul Stanley meat, shit.
Well, it's funny that you mention. It's funny that you mentioned meat there, because clearly I triggered you with the Thin Lizzy reference in the last one. But is it just me, or does this sound like a really bad version of a Meatloaf song? Like, this track to me sounded like, by the time the chorus hit, it sounded like an okay Meatloaf song, like an okay Meatloaf song, but without the gorgeous production.
As we've established earlier on this podcast, I enjoy my share of fake Jim Steinman songs. So fake Jim Steinman is a selling point for me.
Yeah, I suppose.
This song, I think, desperately was needed on Psycho Circus. I think this song absolutely should have made the album. I'm pretty sure Paul Stanley thinks the same thing and was super grumpy about this song not making the album. Because, like, oh, why is Bruce paying attention to all of Gene's shitty songs? Doesn't he know Body and Soul is great and should be on the album and probably a single? So I know that's what Paul Stanley was going through his head. But the thing is, when you look at this in the sense of the different members of Kiss playing a character, this is Paul Stanley playing the role of the Star Child so well. Because the Star Child is, you know, the lover, the romantic, the man of passion. And this is both a sex song and like a sincere love song. Like, I love everything about you, babe. Your hot body and your hot soul. That is such a Paul Stanley sentiment because it is very sexual, but also romantic. And when we talked about the failure of the vocals of Nothing Can Keep Me From You, I'm feeling Paul Stanley, Man of Passion, from this track, and it succeeds. It is a lost Paul Stanley classic with, like, clean production. Is it, fully mastered or anything? No, but unlike a lot of other Kiss demos, like, this is a very clean-sounding cut, so you can add this to your playlist, you can crank it up, and just be so wrapped up in these amazing, fantastic pop hooks, great vocals from Paul. Like, a Paul Stanley leftover. Like, Paul Stanley doesn't, in general, tends not to write shitty songs. Gene Simmons has a much lower threshold of what he's willing to, like, put out and record. Paul Stanley, if he doesn't think it's great, he usually doesn't bother recording it. And, like, this is a lost Kiss classic with a K. Fantastic. I love this song. Of the songs that I hadn't heard from Fake Psycho Circus, this is easily the best, easily the one that impressed me the most. And I wish I had heard this years ago because I just love it so much. Hashtag fake meatloaf, fake Steinman.
All this talk of fake meatloaf and a piece of Paul meat and Paul leftovers. Greg, you should have eaten that apple. Sound hungry.
Sorry, we'll eat after this podcast, before the Nets podcast. So many podcasts today.
See, Greg, I'm really struggling now because you just gave this, like, glowing review of Body and Soul, and, like, I feel like I am having a body and soul crisis with myself right now because I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm supposed to think, because I remember when the Psycho Circus outtakes leaked onto the internet a number of years back. The ones that stood out to me the most, or the ones I remember, I should say, the most, were I Want to Rule the World and this one, Body and Soul. I Want to Rule the World, I was like, okay, whatever, kind of, like, boring for Gene, like, next. And then Body and Soul, I was like, this is so cool. This is really great. Why wasn't this on the album? And then I remember talking to my cousin, who's a fellow, huge Kiss fan and a really talented musician and everything. And he was like, it's okay. Not as good as Raise Your Glasses. And I feel like he, like, brought that down for me. And I know he's going to listen to this podcast because he's obsessed with these podcasts. So, like, Brian, you really fucked me on this. Like, I'm enjoying this as much as Greg is. And instead, I'm just like, whatever. And so all these years I've had this mentality of, like, I just kind of didn't even listen to it for a number of the past few years. And then I was listening to it again for this podcast. And I was like, yeah, I guess it really isn't as good as I first thought it was. Like, it really is better off, as it became on Raise Your Glasses. And then, Greg, you just gave this, like, gushing review of it. And I was like, yeah, like, that's how I heard it the first time. And, like, now I hate that like, youthful excitement was stripped from me because of my cousin Brian. And to be fair, because of other people on KissFAQ, which is a great website. Thank you, Julian. But I remember other fans being like, no, there's a reason songs don't make an album. They usually suck. When they sound cool at first, it's just because you're hearing them for the first time and you're so excited. And so Brian's words and those words were kind of like, yeah, I guess maybe they're right. And so I kind of just stopped listening to these outtakes when really I could have been getting so much more excitement from them. So I hate everyone.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
All right, so here's what I'm going to say. Raise Your Glasses, great. Body and Soul, also great. I'll take this over I Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll. This is a fantastic song. Is it similar to Raise Your Glasses? Yeah, kinda. But you know what? It's different enough. The melody's different. This is a great song. One of Paul Stanley's best. Amazing. Like, this is a great, like, lost Paul Stanley classic. For the people who pine for the days when Paul Stanley could still sing, boom, this track right here. It's fantastic.
Wait. You're still talking about Body and Soul?
Still talking about Body and Soul. This is a great vocal.
What the hell is wrong with you? Oh my God. It's like the most awful piece of shit he's ever recorded. It reminded me of those 80s solo demos.
You mean
of,
Awesome?
Don't Let Go.
You mean Awesome?
I was wondering when Julian was going to chime in to justify his...
Or Read My Body.
You mean Awesome?
They come off the Alive Worldwide tour where they've celebrated the mighty Kiss of 1977-78. And Paul actually sits down and writes a song. Yeah, those people who've just enjoyed our classic era being relived, they want to listen to this. I mean, what the hell? Even he said it didn't quite fit for the rest of the album. Yeah, because it's a piece of garbage. It's syrupy, make me want to vomit, boy band rubbish. So I hated this song. I mean, I was very wanted to hear it when he had said that it didn't fit with the rest of the album. I wanted, well, how bad could it be to not fit with the rest of the album, which isn't exactly spectacular to begin with. And then I heard it and I was like, oh, okay, I see why it doesn't fit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily, look, it's definitely more in line with 80s, Paul. It's not a 70s riff rocker, but I think it fits the role of the Star Child as a concept. And look, as someone who enjoys like the 80s bullshit Kiss a lot, as a guy who loves Read My Body, yes, this is a great song. Mike, I'm not gonna let the naysayers keep me down. I'm gonna still love this song, and I'm gonna spread the positivity towards the song out into the universe. Hopefully, some of it spreads back onto you. You can be back on Team Body and Soul. We'll welcome you back. We'll welcome back your body and soul into this.
I will happily be the prodigal son of Body and Soul because...
Come on back, buddy. Come on back.
Everything you're saying right now is reminding me of my first initial reaction, and I don't usually let people taint songs for me. Like, I think Boomerang's awesome, and you're not going to ruin it for me. But for some reason, Body and Soul just got so diminished for me, and I want to be back. I want to be back where you're at, so... Come on back to Team Body and Soul. Steve's here. It's great. Oh, Steve's there. I'm on board.
So, Steve, why did you like this one so much?
So that's the ironic part is my notes for this are just, this one's pretty catchy, and then I ranked it number 1. So, I don't remember much about it in detail. When I finally get around to putting together Steve's Best of Kiss, what they should have actually put on that, I'll have to revisit this one to really remember it. But yeah, it was there were a couple songs on this album that maybe were undercooked overall, but had some pretty good melodic ideas in them, and I think this is the peak of those. Speaking
of thinking this is right in the middle, Jamie, you put this kind of in the middle of your ranking. High mids?
Yeah, this was 4th. I put this just under Nothing Can Keep Me From You. There's my confession. I just think Raise Your Glasses is better.
I mean, it is. Raise Your Glasses is song. Better.
I think it's a great song, and I think you're right. I think it is exactly the Paul Stanley character, which makes it really good. But it sounded so much like Raise Your Glasses to me that I thought, what would I rather have on Psycho Circus? And it was Raise Your Glasses. Obviously, I'd rather have, Dreamin' as well, which I know everybody keeps trashing, and it keeps upsetting me. But it reminded me too much of Raise Your Glasses.
Hey man, I like Dreamin'. I think I stood up for that song reasonably well on the Psycho Circus episode. I don't remember what I said, but I think I was overall positive.
I just want to clarify. I really like the song Dreamin', and about 20 years ago it was actually one of my favorite songs on the album. In hindsight, especially where Paul ended up doing a solo album, I think it might have just been a little more fitting on a Paul solo album. Whereas, again, I was 13 when Psycho Circus came out. I wanted more Sweet and Dirty Love. I wanted more sleazy rockers and stuff. And Dreamin's a really cool, reflective type of song. It's just not that 70s sexual, energetic, anthemic Kiss that teenage me wanted.
Which I think is what a lot of people got from Sonic Boom and Monster, and probably explains why I wasn't as into it, because I like layers and textures to a Kiss album, where Dreamin', I think I can't imagine the Kiss catalog without it. Like, I adore that track, and I think it's fantastic, but it's not as good as Body and Soul.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, we're in the top 3. Next up on the list is, honestly, the biggest surprise on the ranking for me. We have I Am Yours next on the list.
I like that that's the biggest surprise. You're the person who put it second highest of everybody.
I'm surprised that everyone else agreed with me on that.
Yeah, okay.
That's where I was surprised on it. Where this song, I think, it has... So, I don't know, this one's kind of fascinating for me, where I think that I Want to Rule the World is ultimately a better overall experience, but this has a couple better individual components. So the fact that it starts off with that Mott the Hoople-esque riff at the beginning of this one, and it seems like just a classic riff. Like, you hear it and it's melodic, it's punchy, it's catchy, and you think, holy crap, this is going to be a great song. And it is, but it's maybe not as great as that opening riff implies that it will be. But once again, very Beatles-esque. Some nice musical breakdowns in this one. I think, obviously, if they had done a full production on this, the synthesizers would have turned into a full string section, and that would have sounded really cool and would have added another Beatlesy sounding song to the album. And I like when Gene gets Beatlesy. I really enjoy those songs pretty consistently. And it's another love Beatlesy ballad from Gene. This one I think is actually about a chick and not about Paul Stanley's dick and, how Gene wants to get some of Paul Stanley's dick. But yeah, I dig it, and I'm surprised that you guys dig it. That's where the surprise comes from. Not that I like it, but the fact that you guys like it is why I'm confused.
I think my favorite part is that we have used at least 3 distinct terms to refer to something that sounds kind of like the Beatles so far this podcast.
And we didn't even mention the White Album once.
Oh, yep, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, I also wrote Beatlesy in my notes. What you said about the synthesizers becoming a string section may have been why this one was left on the cutting room floor, is the band sort of looked at everything they were doing and said, hey, in order to do this song properly, we need to hire a bunch of string players. Is it really worth the money?
They already did that with Journey of a Thousand Years.
On
Psycho Circus. Yeah, in real Psycho Circus. And they could have done the same thing. We're like, hey, we already got the orchestra here for Beth. Let's do Great Expectations. While they're in the room. So really, they would have been more bang for the buck. Like, yeah, while they're here, might as well, get our money's worth.
2 for the price of slightly less than 2, but probably more than 1.
You're not wrong. That's just a very funny way of phrasing that. Yeah, I mean, the thing that stood out to me, obviously, right away is the kind of like that all the young dudes vibe. I think it's a better song than I Want to Rule the World. I know, Greg, you kind of say you like I Want to Rule the World better overall, but like better components of I Am Yours. I think it's just overall a better song. You make the Beatles comparison, like, oh yeah, you like Beatles, Eugene. I definitely think unless Psycho Circus was a legitimate double album, there's really no place for more than one Beatles-y Gene song, so you either have We Are One or I Am Yours. Maybe on a double album you could have done both.
I'd take this over We Are One.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because We Are One sounds like Third Eye Blind. This sounds like the Beatles. It sounds like a better band. If you're going to rip off a band, rip off the Beatles. Don't rip off Third Eye Blind.
Although We Are One matched the shtick of Psycho Circus better, probably.
I can see that. You are correct. But man, this is such a better song than We Are One.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct. I think I have that drop somewhere.
Lean towards We Are One, but
not quite.
I have way more history with that one. If I had listened to I Am Yours more, maybe. I do like it a lot. For me, it's going to sound so simple, but it's a genuine compliment. It's just a very pleasant song. And I know that just kind of sounds like a generic meh compliment, but it's actually just a song I listen to where I'm like, I am being sonically pleased right now, and this is just a nice song that is making me enjoying listening to it. And as simple as that is just a pure awesome experience, and that's kind of why most of us usually listen to music in the first place. So I think it's a great song. I'm not surprised that it did pretty well in the ranking because it's just one of the better ones.
Yeah, and what I'll say about when I was mentioning components that were better than I Want to Rule the World, I think this has a better chorus than I Want to Rule the World, but I think the verses are much, much, much stronger in I Want to Rule the World, and it flows together as an entire piece better. But, the bridge where Gene gets a very British accent where he says anytime at all in this song is fantastic. Like I said, the riff is fantastic. I love the ending of this one. It's just the way it builds. There is a lot to love in this song, and I can definitely respect liking this one more than I Want to Rule the World. I think they're very similar songs in a lot of ways, but if you tell me you like this one better, I get it. Like, if you say, hey, I like Boomerang better than Body and Soul, I will never understand you as a person. Like, we'll just always, I will look at you the same way I look at an alligator, where there's just a visceral gut reaction where I just say, I do not trust this creature. But if you say you like I Am Yours more than I Want to Rule the World, like, yeah, I get that. I can respect that. So, Julian, what were your thoughts on this one?
It's just very middle of the road, Gene. It's one of those things. I mean, the comment made earlier about the people on the KissFAQ message board saying you only like it because you're hearing it for the first time kind of rings memories for me listening to this. I liked it a lot more the first time I heard it, and I think I like it less every time I hear it since.
Ouch. Hey, Jamie, you ranked it lower than Julian. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Like everybody else has said, it is very, very Beatlesy. There's a John Lennon solo song that it really reminds me of, but I can't put my finger on what the song is. That start reminded me quite a bit of God Gave Rock and Roll to You as well, that jangly guitar style. The song's inoffensive. I guess that's probably why I put it so low. I like my Kiss to be a little bit more offensive. It's quite a sweet song.
You know what? I respect that. That's a fair take. I don't need Kiss to be offensive. For me personally, like I like sugar sweet Kiss. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, tomorrow, Turn on the Night. I am totally willing to accept this hairy chested man with star makeup singing this cute pop song. Why not?
Ready to get wholesome.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I love Gene when he kind of goes down this road. See You Tonight is genuinely one of my favourite songs on any Kiss record, which is the first time I've ever said that out in public. But
there you go. Now the world will hear it.
Yeah, that's it. Please direct emails elsewhere. So I do love when Gene does go down that road, because it's nice to kind of see him in that fashion, as opposed to the whole, here are some songs about my dick being in somebody's arse.
When you put it that way.
When you put it that way, it's so accurate.
Yeah. But yeah, the song was fine. I just thought there were better ones on the list.
I think that might be the most accurate description of Kiss I've ever heard. Does anyone have any more comments about I Am Yours or Gene Simmons putting his dick in somebody's ass before we move on?
All right, I'm done talking about this great song.
Yeah, sure. All right, so next up on the list, coming in at number 2 on Fake Psycho Circus, we have In Your Face. Now, for those playing along at home, Julian has noted that, yes, it is the alternate version of In Your Face that was on the playlist I sent everybody. But you know what? Whatever version of In Your Face is your favorite, that's the canonical version on Fake Psycho Circus. Hashtag Fake Psycho Circus, hashtag canon.
Wait, so how many versions of the song are there?
I honestly don't know. Julian, how many versions of In Your Face are there?
In Your Face? Like 3.
All right, there you go. 3 versions. Whichever version you like the best. I picked the version that I thought the vocals sounded not shitty on. So that was how I decided which version of In Your Face to add to the playlist. Hey, it's an Ace song. And according to Steve's notes, Ace finally learned how to write good vocal melodies for himself. Spoiler alert, Gene Simmons wrote the song. That's why you like the vocal melody, Steve.
Oh, all right. Well, that would explain it.
He's like, yeah,
I'm
Ace
sorry,
is...
the Wikipedia on this album wasn't as comprehensive as the other ones.
Yeah, there wasn't a really great Wikipedia article on Fake Psycho Circus. Get on it, fans. Hashtag Fake Psycho Circus. Hashtag canon. Yeah.
See, I've actually been a big fan of this one ever since Psycho Circus came out, so I ranked it pretty high. I had it at number 3. I really dig the swagger of it. I've always thought, and I still think, that it should have been on Psycho Circus. I will say I'm very surprised that the overall panel ranked it so high, just because I feel like over the years on Kiss websites and everything, I've kind of read a lot of flack for this song. So I'm pleasantly surprised that it's getting some love today. And I'm just curious if anyone will step forward who ranked it the lowest.
Probably me.
Yep, Julian did.
But I mean, like, was it like bottom 3 or?
Gave it 4 out of a possible 9. I only put it 1 place above Julian. Julian, I cede the floor to you about this mediocre song, and then I will step in.
Well, mediocrity just runs abundant in this song. It's it's a song that they wanted Ace to do. Ace didn't like what Gene had written, so he rewrote some of it. But again, you go back to the stuff that's on Gene's vault, and you get the real version with Ace on it, and it's way better than any of the versions on Fake Psycho Circus or the B-side or the bonus track that was included on the Japan release. It's just, I guess we go back to the whole problem with Psycho Circus and the era is that it lacks Ace and it lacks Peter. And I think it gets too much credit just because it is an Ace song, but it's like thrown together and it just is lacking in so many departments, let alone the guitar, let alone the lyrics, let alone the vocals, that it's just mediocre. And, like Greg said, mediocrity personified.
So this is a song that I blatantly acknowledge as being mediocre, but I like it. So it is mediocre. The lyrics, I would just say, are actively bad. I would not put them in the mediocre category. I would say they're lazy, bad lyrics. But I think the version that I put on my canon of Fake Psycho Circus, Ace delivers a good vocal. And I think the production on the track sounds good. I think Ace Frehley sounds good within the confines of the Psycho Circus production. And I think the riff is kind of fun. And the verses are kind of fun. And the chorus is droning and Boomerang-esque. And, not as bad as Boomerang, but not as good as You Wanted the Best. And when your chorus isn't as good as You Wanted the Best, that's still a pretty low bar. So I like the verses. And I like Ace's vocal, and I like the riff, but it's not necessarily musically interesting. It's very plotting, very straightforward. There's not like a little interesting twist or turn like there usually is in very simple Kiss songs, where Mr. Speed is a simple song, but there's still a couple fun twists and turns that it takes. This one doesn't really have any fun twists or turns. It just sort of keeps the same thing going throughout. And I think, honestly, the main reason I like it as much as I do is nostalgia. Because I have known the song as long as I have. I'm like, yeah, In Your Face. And it was super cool that there was another Ace song, and it was a bonus track, and we were excited to hear that bonus track. But, if we're comparing it to songs on Psycho Circus, Into the Void crushes this one. It's not even close. And so, I enjoy it. There are parts of it I like. I've ranked it, 5 points out of a possible 9, so I think there's a lot of parts of the song I do like, and I wouldn't completely throw it out. So I'd say Ace's vocal and the riff and the verses melodically are above average, but everything else is mediocre to bad, and so that's why I ranked it where I did.
I thought it was brilliant. I really liked it. I ranked it second, but as I'm sure we've kind of established, Ace is technically the reason I ever started playing guitar, which led to, my entire kind of life to where I am now, in the kind of career I'm at and the stuff I do in my band. So I owe a lot of debt to Ace. I can take that his singing's a piece of shit. I can take that his guitar playing's super sloppy, because all of that is part of his daft charm to me. The riff, I put it in second place just because I think the riff is absolutely brilliant. In fact, what I noted was great riffs, terrible vocals, classic Ace.
And I would actually say I agree that the riff is great. It is a really good riff. But I would disagree, and I think the vocals are really great, and this is one of the stronger Ace Frehley vocals that he's done in his entire career.
I think in terms of that, I agree, but I think the melody is it's even more kind of restricted to what Ace normally does, I found.
Steve is usually a pretty harsh critic of Ace Frehley vocals, and he was pretty favorable towards this song in general.
Well, it's because so that comment I made about you can't find it on Wikipedia. This is the one song that you can find on Wikipedia. So whoops, my bad there. But I think that's the trick is Ace does best vocally when somebody else is writing the melody, I guess. That's what I've said before. I was going to give him a pass on this one until I realized that Gene wrote it, but Gene writing for Ace's voice is better than Ace writing for Ace's voice.
So consistently, you have the same opinion about Ace. Like, yeah, he's really good when someone else writes for him.
Right. If somebody's willing to push him, he can belt out a good vocal, and he does well on this one. I think My big thought with this one, besides that, was that if he got a little bit better, it might be the sort of thing where they'd let him have more than one song on an album, and every single song that he does wouldn't need to be specifically about, oh, hey guys, I'm the spaceman, let's all go to space with me. Like, he could just write about other stuff sometimes, too.
Well,
Like, we could write about, like, Ace's dick and what part of the girl is going to be touched by his dick.
Well, but there was a time where there was...
Is that not Rocket Ride?
It's true. maybe just, like, not in space this time, though.
But, hey, man...
Girl, you can touch my dick on Earth,
Torpedo
too.
Girl. There
or
you
at the
go.
beach.
Underwater.
But also,
Maybe it was...
Oh, go ahead.
Maybe she was touching his dick on Earth, but it just took her to outer space. Maybe that was just...
That's how good his dick was.
It was superb.
There's an obvious joke about thrust in there.
But so Steve, I will counter this. There is a Kiss album where there are more Ace songs than Gene songs. Dynasty, only 2 Gene songs and 3 Ace songs on that album.
Oh yeah.
And then Unmasked, he had 3 songs on it. So, and then The Elder, who only had 1 song. That's because he didn't give a shit. So, you have to factor that in as to why there are the number of Ace songs there are on the album. But yeah, I think, like I said, this song has a lot of positive attributes to it. Nostalgia is a big saving grace for this song. I tried hard to rank these objectively, but that nostalgia love for the song was a factor in my ranking. And so I don't know if I had heard this for the first time, with all of these songs for the first time, how I would have ranked it. That was very difficult, but I think, ended up in the middle. It's good. It's not body and soul good, but I guess the panel disagrees with me.
Maybe having 3 songs on Dynasty is why Dynasty is one of the best Kiss albums,
Because Ace is the best?
I guess? This seems to be a weird place for me to land. I'm going to need to think about that.
Well, as you contemplate that, do we have any other comments about In Your Face before we move on?
I was just curious if Julian knows, and maybe you do, maybe you don't. You've mentioned a few different versions of In Your Face. I'm primarily familiar with the version on the Japanese bonus track on Psycho Circus, and then I know it was also released on like that CD single that came along with the VHS cassette of the Psycho Circus music video.
That's the version I have.
Are those the same version, or are those 2 different versions?
No, those are the same versions. But,
Okay, that's what I thought.
On the actual alternative Psycho Circus sessions that leaked, there were 2 different versions of it in there. One of them was actually released on the Vault, which I'm confused, which is why I said 3, but it's one of those 2 different takes, and there's just minor differences in the solo, if I recall off the top of my head. But yeah, there's 2 separate versions there.
So there's Japanese B-side version and 2 leaked versions?
Yeah, and again, same as the Vault, one of those versions is close to the version that was released in Japan, but you'd have to just A and B them.
So it's either 2 or 4, depending on what you want to consider a distinct version?
Yeah, you could take the versions as being fully mastered for release on the Vault and for, the Japanese B-side, and then take the 2 pre-mixes for, it's just semantics, really.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go through this ranking from the bottom to the top. By the way, this is the canonical way you're supposed to listen to Fake Psycho Circus in the order of our ranking. Hashtag Fake Psycho Circus, hashtag canon.
So wait, you are supposed to listen to it in, best song last?
Yes, so that way it just keeps getting better.
I guess, all right.
Look, there's no official track listing for Fake Psycho Circus. We are establishing it now on the Lipstick panel.
Alternative interpretation, listen to Fake Psycho Circus backwards to hear the Vinnie Vincent backmasked secret messages.
Right. So, from the bottom, from Vinnie Vincent to Paul Stanley, from the bottom to the top, we've got Carnival of Souls, Rain Keeps Falling, Nothing Can Keep Me From You, I Want to Rule the World, Sweet and Dirty Love, Body and Soul, I Am Yours, In Your Face. But the best song on Fake Psycho Circus, according to this panel, hashtag canon, is It's My Life.
It's
That just keeps going, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's harsh.
I forgot that was on that button.
Yeah, so, It's My Life, Lost Kiss classic, with a K.
Did we cover this one, Greg?
Yes, we did.
Okay, that's
we
why I
did this
remember
at our Kiss cover set, along with Union's "Love I Don't Need It Anymore."
Yeah.
So we dove into some deep cuts with our Kiss cover set. Opened with "Creatures of the Night," followed it by "Deuce" and "Strutter." It was a great set.
And then a bunch of deep cuts like this one and our own songs featuring, Kiss tangential guitarists.
Oh yeah, when we did "Stop" and "You Can't Stop the Rock," because Phil Schaus from the Gene Simmons Band played on those songs, and we counted them as Kiss-related songs.
Close enough.
Because we're terrible people. But anyway, back to...
Close enough for union work.
Hey!
No, wait. You guys do Kiss covers. So here's something that I challenge anyone who does Kiss covers for live. Someone has got to start performing these, singing the lyrics that appear in the Japanese pressings.
Oh, I would totally do that. Or like the version of... I'm a Legend Tonight from Killers, where Believing in Bible Crop. Yeah, I'll do that. I'm down for that.
Do a whole set of those songs with those lyrics would just be freaking awesome to have a few beers or some other substances and sit back and listen to.
It might have to be an acoustic set because, as we know, sound guys mix the vocals way too low and you can't hear them. So, but yeah, I'd be down for doing a set of that at some point. Absolutely.
I just love the concept of this set because it would basically be me and Julian and like one other guy like, haha, we get it.
I mean, we just announce it as a Kiss show, and then people show up, but then we just don't tell the crowd we're singing the wrong lyrics throughout. We'll tell you guys, but we'll just be like, yeah, we're doing another Kiss cover show. Should come out. And then we'll do all that.
The best part of this joke would be that half of the band wouldn't get it either.
Right.
Including me. Like, we'd be playing these songs, like, Greg, these lyrics are really weird. What's up with that? And you'd have to explain the joke to me at that point.
But as we mentioned, our good friend Phil Schaus, who played on Stop and You Can't Stop the Rock on Lipstick 2, the Gene Simmons Band brought out this song live, I think, it was last year or 2 years ago, and, brought this song back from the ashes, and it deserved to be, because it's a great song. It's much like Rock and Roll Night, where Paul wrote a great chorus and Gene wrote some okay verses. Here we go. It's that same formula. It's a winning formula. Demoed back on the Creatures of the Night album, eventually given to Wendy O. Williams. But this is a great version. It's driving. It's catchy. I think the solo is great. I think that's probably Tommy Thayer. But hey, Tommy's great, so good job, Tommy. I like when Ace sang in the song. I like the lyrics. I love the message. Like, this is the message of Kiss that I get behind. It's not the sleazy sex songs. It's the believe in yourself shown in anthems. I loved the song when I first heard it in high school. I've loved it for years. This is on my Believe in Yourself playlist. You put on this. You put on My Way from Crazy Nights. You put on Eye of the Tiger, Cry Tough by Poison. This is just a good Believe in Yourself anthem.
And you believe in yourself for exactly 12 minutes.
No, I mean, there's more on that playlist. I was just giving
Like a pretty
examples.
sick playlist. That's a total Mike Walsh playlist right there.
But Mike, you know what kind of playlist I'm talking about. You're like, I'm going to work out, or I'm going to follow my dreams, or I'm going to work out and follow my dreams simultaneously, which I know that Jamie can relate to. Like,
Yeah.
this is freaking rad. This is a rad song. One of the best songs in the Kiss catalog. The only thing that I would say is unfortunate about it is that there's also a really great Bon Jovi song with the same title, which has similar themes, and both are so awesome, and I don't want to pit them against each other, and I don't want to live in a world where that Bon Jovi song isn't a hit, but I want to live in a world where this song is also a hit. I think there's room for two It's My Life's to be hits. I want them both to be hits. I would like if every 5 years there was an It's My Life, Shonen Believe in Yourself anthem that was a hit, and then we could have a playlist of all songs called It's My Life by great bands that make you believe in yourself and want to work out. Survivor, do a song called It's My Life. Aerosmith, yeah, why not? Van Halen, you got Diamond Dave back, doing It's My Life. Accept, sure, why the fuck not? Everybody doing It's My Life, give me a kick-ass playlist with songs with this title. I'm down with it, love it, great song.
Are you going to do one of these, Greg, or?
Shit, yeah, let's do it.
That thing that I think all musicians should do. Oh, frig, I should probably do that.
We're starting the trend. Started here on the hashtag Fake Psycho Circus episode. Hashtag It's My Life challenge.
Well, I get what you're saying.
Because
too, about
it's
the
one hashtag, then you write all those words out.
Right.
Sorry, Mike. I didn't mean
No,
to
no,
interrupt
no.
you.
It's all gravy, baby. With with the Bon Jovi version, obviously it's a big hit and the most well-known "It's My Life" song. It's just like one of those things where it's like, but the Kiss version predates it by almost 20 years. Just no one knows it. And then, no, Greg, I'm interested. What for you? All joking aside, from hashtag fake Psycho Circus, hashtag canon. What is the canonical version of "It's My Life" for you? Is it this version? Is it Wendy O. Williams? Where do you stand on that?
For me, the canonical version of It's My Life is the fake Psycho Circus version.
Okay. And
I think
I totally support that.
If I had a better quality version of the version that they did for Creatures, that might be the canonical version, because I freaking love Creatures of the Night, and that is a freaking badass balls-to-the-wall metal album. But I've only ever heard versions of that with really shitty sound quality. And Wendy O. Williams, I'm just not big on her as a vocalist. I'm big into her as a concept, as a personality, as a writer, as a performer. But as a singer, she's just kind of for me. She's not bad, but I'm not pulled in by her vocals necessarily.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, she's really not a great singer. I mean, it's cool that she did it. For me, actually, my favorite version is probably the version King Cobra did on their third album in 1988. I really dig that one a lot.
Yeah, that version, actually, I haven't heard, so I need to...
Yeah, I recommend it. I mean, you like 80s rock, hair metal type stuff.
And
so
I know a couple of their songs, so I'm not, like,
some people
anti-King Cobra or anything like that. Like, they're fine. It's just I never listened to that one. But for me, yes, this is the canonical version of this song. Like, yes, I know it doesn't have the original Kiss lineup on this track. But this is a magical recording. And there are magical recordings from the Psycho Circus era where, the title track from not fake Psycho Circus is still a magical Kiss recording, even though it's not the original lineup. This song still has magic in it. And I think, the number of Kiss fans who adore this song, the number of people who are so freaking excited when the Gene Simmons band played it live, like there is... Oh, shit. Why are you looking at that, Steve?
So I'm looking up versions of It's My Life.
But here's the problem. That's considered by a lot of people to be a lost Kiss album.
The Wendy O. Williams album?
Yeah, because there's a lot of Kiss co-writes on that album. So we might have to do that. Damn it, Steve. Why you surf the internet during our shows?
Because I'm not talking sometimes.
It's interesting because It's My Life is kind of like a Sword and Stone, like pre-Sword and Stone, in the sense that like Kiss kind of demoed it, but then they didn't do it, but then like multiple other artists did it. At least two artists in the case of both songs, and then fans are like, but we love it. Why didn't it make the album around the time it was demoed? So it's just kind of, it's weird like that, and it's frustrating like that. And supposedly Paul really does not like It's My Life, and I don't get that. And like you said, he's a co-writer on it, so I don't know why he wouldn't own up to co-writing a great song. And everything about life is weird, I guess.
Yeah, I do
he doesn't
not
like it because Gene likes it. Because don't forget when in 2017, when Gene was talking about this song and his band had started performing it, he'd screwed up the history of the song. And Paul put a snarky tweet out that said, and I did just surf the internet to get this, for anyone it matters to, the song It's My Life had nothing to do with any other song of mine. I wrote the title, chorus, chords, melody, and lyric to It's My Life and didn't want to use it at the time. Gene wanted to use it, so he wrote the rest. What's left? Well, actually, what's left to write after you've written the title, the chorus, the melody, and the lyric? But that's beside the point here. So Paul didn't like it. And, then Gene takes it. He uses it with Wendy O. Williams. He actually uses the Kiss backing track on there. And he tried again in 88 for In Heat with Black and Blue. They recorded a version of it. So I want to hear that one more than anything. I want to hear what Tommy's solo was in 1988 and compare it to the one in, 1998 that he did 10 years later. My big problem is this: when they released it on the box set, they called it the original version. And I'm like, what? No, the original version is the 1982 demo. Right. And then you have the 82 studio track that was then taken on Wendy O. Williams. So they should have called it the originals version. But then again, since the originals weren't playing on it, one of those weird things. I love this song.
Well, see, but the originals was a compilation of the first three albums, so that's not accurate either, Julian.
Oh, God.
Everything's a
Band
lie.
can be excruciating.
But getting back to the root of it, it's a great fucking song. It's awesome. It's the anthem. It's like, for so many of us, it's the missing single, the hit single that they should have had. And talking about the Bon Jovi one, it's one of the few times you'll ever hear me say, I love that Bon Jovi song. And they've got the better bass line in theirs.
I mean, look, I have no shame in saying that Bon Jovi is a great band. Like, if Runaway doesn't do it for you, I don't know what will. So, and man,
What a
freaking
great
She
song.
Don't Know Me. Oh man, pop perfection. But yeah, It's My Life. For me, when I think It's My Life, or I think this composition, I think of it as a Kiss song. I don't think of it as a Wendy O. Williams song or anyone else. I think of this as a Kiss song. I think of this version. And I think it is one of the best things that Kiss has ever done, and the fact that it was left off Psycho Circus makes zero sense to me, because it is the best choice for a single on that album, even better than Psycho Circus as a single. I do think Psycho Circus is a better song, but I think this is a better song to sell to radio than anything Kiss had from this batch of song, by a wide margin. Like, this is the radio single. Because it's not awkwardly sexual, making them feel awkward in the 90s. So, like, this is exactly what they needed for the album, and I don't get why it was left off, other than Paul being petty, probably. Jamie, we haven't heard your thoughts on this one yet. It has Ace, so you love it, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, that is my criteria for most Kiss songs. Does it have Ace or not? Yeah, as soon as I heard that kind of the multi-overlapping backing vocals, I was sold the first time I heard it. As an enormous Mutt Lange fan, anything with just really daft backing vocals is dear to my heart. So, you know, it won for me on that front.
Yeah, I mean, this phenomenal, great song. I mean, what more needs to be said? Is there more that needs to be said?
One thing I found, Greg, is good news for you. If you wanted to do a playlist entirely of songs called It's My Life, Wikipedia lists 13.
All right.
But you are going to end up doing, you know, an operatic dubstep song by César, and, you know, a couple that are, like, sort of edge cases, like It's My Life / no, actually that's just the sound, but like,
so are we gonna
It's
do
My
a
Life
ranking episode of the It's My Life songs?
Maybe. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's probably not, but you know what, we've done plenty of podcasts that weren't good ideas, like doing the Gene Simmons asshole one coming up.
That's fair, but it does range from, you know, the Animals to DJ Bobo.
All right.
That's a person.
Well, that's our ranking, ladies and gentlemen. So, excellent panelists. Were you surprised with the ranking? Were you happy with it? Does anyone have really strong opinions on how fake Psycho Circus should have been ranked?
I'm still trying to figure out your opinions on Body and Soul. I'm perplexed.
It's great. It's Paul Stanley, man of passion, singing a song of passion.
You have got to be taking the piss. There's just no way. There is just no way. Really?
Julian, real talk with you. I know I troll a lot on these podcasts. I am not trolling about Body and Soul, and I know it seems like I am with how much I'm gushing over it, but I sincerely love that song.
Okay, I'm going out and buying a bottle of whiskey. I can't feel this.
So other than you hating my opinion on Body and Soul, and Mike now remembering how great Body and Soul is, any other big surprises?
I wouldn't say too many big surprises. I guess for me, the biggest one personally, probably just that people actually dig In Your Face, which I'm pleasantly surprised by.
I mean, it's no Body and Soul, but it's all right.
And then Jamie, I'm just curious, just like from my own perspective of like your Kiss fan history and whatnot. I can't tell if you're like 25 or 45.
Wow, you're very close. I'm 26.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, and I didn't mean that as an insult. Like, you speak very well, and like you seem to know a lot about Kiss, which I guess most of the people on this podcast are like younger fans. I'm just used to like Kiss fans being older than me, not younger than me. So
I'm not
that's
the
also-
youngest person on this episode, Steve.
Huzzah!
All right, who's doing their nails?
Not it.
It wasn't me, but I did hear that. Yeah.
All right, so anyway, now's the time when we do plugs. Julian, what do you feel like promoting this week?
You know what? There's only one thing that I want to promote, and that is one of Kiss's original roadies, J.R. Smalling, is battling cancer. And there is a GoFundMe. You can find a link for it on the KissFAQ message board. That unfortunately in the United States, a lot of people often need some help with their medical bills. And as someone who has given so much to the Kiss Army, being involved in getting the band out on the road from the clubs through Destroyer, and is on the legendary Alive album, introducing the band with the immortal "You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best" announcement. If you can spare a cup of coffee, or what a cup of coffee costs, and donate to the GoFundMe, it would go a long way to helping JR in his battle.
I'll give you. I'm gonna keep hitting the applause button until we get the less shitty one. Hey, there we go.
But yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with our, the audience, Julian. That is something very important. If you're able to, please, the Kiss Army. I make jokes about the Kiss Army sometimes, but it is a wonderful community that does stick together. So please, if you're able to, he's the guy who shouted at the beginning of Kiss Live, "You want the best, you got the hottest band of the land, Kiss." That guy's a part of your childhood. Help him out. Help him out, homies. Mike, what do you want to promote?
Yeah, it's really tough following like such a nice, sincere plug. Absolutely, that's a great cause to support. Honestly, the thing I feel like plugging the most is kind of a band that I already plugged a number of months back on, I think, my very first podcast. But
Crazy Licks again?
Crazy Licks again, just because they do have a new album out. I'm loving it. If you love that 80s rock sound and are looking for new bands doing that, they are one of those kind of throwback bands out of Europe. I want to say it's Sweden, to be precise. Anyone who digs that style, it's one of their best albums. I think anyone who likes that would really enjoy it. So check it out. I know this music is not big anymore, but it's really cool that there are bands still doing it for those of us who really like that.
Speaking of musicians who make awesome music, hey, we've got Jamie. Jamie, tell us about your band.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was a nice little segue. I play guitar and sing the female backing vocals in the English band Be Quiet, Shout Loud. We were described once as having the sensibilities of glam rock, but sounding somewhere in between the Darkness and New Order, looking like Steel Panther, acting like the Rolling Stones, and sounding like Andrew WK. So if you like
awesome,
any of that,
in a word.
Well, not the words of me, the words of others.
But I'm saying awesome. Like that's a great combination. Like, yeah, we're kind of like Andrew WK and the Darkness and the Rolling Stones. No big deal.
Yeah, we just like to have fun. That's us. Not dissimilar to Lipstick.
All of that does sound pretty cool. I am curious though, what you do female backing vocals? So what's the deal?
Oh, that's just the
his pants are very tight.
Okay.
That's tight. Yeah, I can. If you push me hard enough, I can do the start of Turn on the Night. So yeah, I get up there. But yeah, I'm in a band called Be Quiet, Shout Loud. You can check us out all over the place online. We have a new single out on the 24th of May, so probably after this podcast goes up, called I Won't Sing For You, that we think's pretty cool. It's got a guitar solo in it, which in 2019 is rare. So yeah, that's me.
And we are out of our backlog of episodes, and also because we want to help JR. This episode is coming out next week from the combo of wanting to help someone when they're in need and also like we're out of content. So this will come out immediately.
Huzzah!
Steve, where can people find us on the internet?
They can find us at lipstickgeneration.com and Lipstick Generation on most platforms most other platforms, and wherever they downloaded this podcast from, they can also find it there.
Yeah, that's all we deserve. All right, bye, Internet.
Bye.